The rain pounded against the windows of the old Victorian house in suburban Chicago, but inside, the storm was just beginning. Hudson Thompson, a 22-year-old college senior, stood in the dimly lit living room, his heart racing like a freight train. He had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times, but now, facing his father, Mark, a stoic construction worker with calloused hands and a no-nonsense demeanor, the words caught in his throat like thorns. "Dad, I need to tell you something," Hudson finally blurted out, his voice trembling but resolute. Mark looked up from his newspaper, his bushy eyebrows furrowing in confusion. "I'm gay. I've known for years, and I can't hide it anymore." The silence that followed was deafening, heavier than the thunder outside. Mark's face drained of color, his newspaper crumpling in his grip. Hudson braced himself for the explosion he feared, the rejection, the anger that so many stories warned about. But instead, Mark stood up slowly, his eyes searching his son's face as if seeing him for the first time. "Sit down, son," he said, his voice steady but laced with an emotion Hudson couldn't quite place. "We need to talk." That night marked the beginning of a journey neither could have anticipated. Hudson had grown up in a household where emotions were rarely discussed. Mark, a widower since Hudson's mother passed away from cancer when Hudson was 10, had thrown himself into work to provide for his only child. He was the kind of man who fixed problems with tools, not words, building decks, repairing cars, anything to keep busy and avoid the void left by his wife's death. Hudson, on the other hand, had always been the sensitive one, excelling in art and literature at school, but hiding his true self behind a facade of normalcy to fit into their conservative neighborhood. As they sat across from each other on the worn leather couch, Mark didn't yell or walk away. Instead, he asked questions, halting, awkward ones that revealed his own confusion. "When did you know? Have you told anyone else?" Hudson opened up, sharing stories from high school crushes to his current relationship with Jamie, a fellow student at the University of Illinois. Jamie was kind, ambitious, studying environmental science, and the first person who made Hudson feel truly seen. But as the conversation deepened, cracks in their relationship surfaced. Mark admitted his fears, not of Hudson being gay, but of the world hurting his son. "I've seen what happens out there, Hudson. The slurs on job sites, the way people look at folks who are different. I don't want that for you." It was a vulnerable admission from a man who prided himself on strength, and it stirred something in Hudson, a mix of relief and resentment. Why hadn't his father shown this side before? The next few days were a whirlwind. Hudson introduced Jamie to Mark over a tense dinner. Jamie, with his easy smile and polite manners, tried to bridge the gap, talking about shared interests like hiking in the nearby state parks. Mark was cordial, but his discomfort was palpable, his jokes falling flat. Later that night, alone in the kitchen, Mark confessed to Hudson, "I don't know how to do this, kid. Your mom would have known what to say." It was the first time in years Mark had mentioned her without clamming up, and Hudson realized this revelation was unearthing buried grief for both of them. Word spread quickly in their tight-knit community. At church the following Sunday, whispers followed them down the aisle. Mrs. Hargrove, the nosy neighbor, pulled Mark aside after the service. "I heard about Hudson. Such a shame. You must be devastated." Mark's response surprised even himself. "Devastated? No, ma'am. Proud. My boy's brave enough to be himself." But inside, doubt gnawed at him. Was he really okay with this, or was he just putting on a front? Hudson, meanwhile, faced his own battles at college. Coming out to his father had given him courage, but not everyone was as accepting. A group of frat guys cornered him in the dorm hallway, spewing homophobic slurs that cut deep. "Fairy boy thinks he's special now," one sneered. Hudson stood his ground, but the incident left him shaken, questioning if the pain was worth it. He confided in Jamie, who held him through the night, whispering assurances that things would get better. Back home, Mark began educating himself in secret. He borrowed books from the library on LGBTQ issues, scrolled through online forums late at night. One article about parents rejecting their gay children hit too close to home, reminding him of a distant cousin who'd been disowned years ago. The thought of Hudson ending up like that fueled Mark's determination to change. He joined a local PFLAG group, parents, families, and friends of lesbians and gays, attending his first meeting with sweaty palms. There, he met other parents sharing stories of loss and reconciliation, and for the first time, he didn't feel alone. As weeks turned into months, small shifts occurred. Mark invited Jamie over for a barbecue, genuinely engaging in conversation about climate change, a topic he once dismissed. Hudson noticed his father's efforts and felt a budding respect. But tension simmered beneath the surface. At a family gathering, Mark's brother, Uncle Tom, a staunch conservative, confronted them. "You're okay with this lifestyle? It's against everything we believe in." The argument escalated, with Tom storming out, vowing not to return until Hudson got help. Mark defended his son fiercely, but the rift in the family left scars. Hudson grappled with his emotions too. Part of him resented Mark for taking so long to accept him, wondering if his mother's presence would have made things different. In therapy sessions he started attending, he unpacked years of suppression, realizing how hiding his identity had affected his self-worth. Jamie became his anchor, their relationship deepening amid the chaos. They shared quiet moments, walks along Lake Michigan, late-night talks about dreams, building a foundation of trust. Yet, the biggest test came when Hudson decided to participate in the Chicago Pride Parade. He asked Mark to join him, half expecting rejection. To his astonishment, Mark agreed, albeit nervously. As they marched under rainbow banners, surrounded by cheers and music, Mark held a sign that read, "Proud Dad of a Gay Son." Strangers hugged him, sharing their own stories, and for a moment, the world felt kinder. But not everyone approved. Counter-protesters shouted hateful words, reminding them of the ongoing fight. That experience bonded them in unexpected ways. Mark opened up about his own youthful regrets, marrying young, suppressing his artistic side to fit the manly mold. "I don't want you living half a life like I did," he told Hudson one evening over coffee. It was a turning point, fostering mutual understanding. However, societal pressures mounted. At work, Mark's co-workers made snide remarks after seeing a photo from the parade on social media. "Gone soft, have ya?" one jeered. Mark stood firm, but the isolation weighed on him. Hudson faced similar backlash online, with anonymous trolls attacking his posts about his relationship. The cumulative stress strained their father-son dynamic, leading to heated arguments about how to navigate the world. In one particularly raw fight, Hudson accused Mark of performative allyship. "You're just doing this to ease your guilt." Mark shot back, "I'm trying, damn it. What more do you want?" They didn't speak for days, the house echoing with unspoken words. Jamie mediated, urging Hudson to see his father's growth. Eventually, they reconciled over a homemade meal, apologies flowing like wine. The summer heat in Chicago was unrelenting, mirroring the rising tensions in the Thompson household. Hudson and Jamie's relationship blossomed publicly, with weekend outings to Wrigley Field or picnics in Grant Park. But each step forward invited scrutiny. Mark, now more involved, suggested a family road trip to bond, but underlying doubts lingered like shadows. One evening, as they planned the trip, Mark hesitated. "What if people stare? Or worse?" Hudson sighed, frustration bubbling. "Dad, that's the point. We can't hide forever." The conversation unearthed Mark's deeper fears. Losing his son to a world he didn't understand, or worse, to violence. News stories of hate crimes against LGBTQ individuals haunted him, fueling nightmares where he failed to protect Hudson. At college, Hudson joined the campus LGBTQ Alliance, organizing events that empowered him but also exposed vulnerabilities. During a panel discussion on coming out, he shared his story, eliciting applause but also backlash from conservative students who picketed outside. "Sinful choices," their signs read. Jamie stood by him, but the ordeal tested their young love. "Are we ready for this fight every day?" Jamie wondered aloud one night, his voice cracking. Mark, inspired by his PFLAG meetings, decided to volunteer at a local youth center for LGBTQ teens. There, he met kids disowned by their families, their eyes hollow with pain. One boy, Tyler, reminded him of Hudson, artistic, sensitive, but broken by rejection. Mark mentored Tyler, helping him find housing and a job, which in turn helped Mark process his emotions. "I almost lost you," he told Hudson later, tears in his eyes for the first time Hudson could remember. But family rifts widened. Uncle Tom, after months of silence, called Mark, demanding he fix Hudson, send him to therapy, real therapy, not that liberal nonsense. Mark refused, hanging up, but the words stung. At a holiday dinner with extended family, the topic exploded. Aunt Linda defended Hudson, but others sided with Tom, citing religious beliefs. "The Bible says," one began, but Mark interrupted. "The Bible also says love thy neighbor. My son is my neighbor, my blood." The evening ended in tears and departures, fracturing bonds built over decades. Hudson felt the weight of being the catalyst. In quiet moments with Jamie, he questioned his choices. "Did I ruin everything by coming out?" Jamie reassured him, their fingers intertwined. "You freed yourself, and maybe them too." Their relationship provided solace, with shared dreams of moving to a more accepting city like San Francisco after graduation. But Jamie's own family, distant and unsupportive, added layers. His parents pretended his sexuality didn't exist, leaving him envious of Mark's efforts. A pivotal moment came when Mark attended his first Pride event beyond the parade, a fundraiser gala. Dressed in a suit he hadn't worn since his wedding, he mingled awkwardly but earnestly. He met activists who shared strategies for advocacy, inspiring him to speak at his next PFLAG meeting about his journey. "I was ignorant," he admitted to the group, "but love changes you." Word got back to his workplace, where a coworker confronted him. "You're one of them now." Mark's response was calm. "If them means supporting my kid, then yes." Meanwhile, Hudson faced a personal crisis. A professor, unaware of his orientation, assigned a paper on traditional family structures, triggering imposter syndrome. He poured his heart into it, arguing for inclusive definitions, earning an A but also a note, provocative perspective, bravo. It boosted his confidence, leading him to submit articles to online LGBTQ publications. One piece, about coming out to a blue-collar dad, went viral, drawing both praise and hate mail. The road trip finally happened, a drive to the Wisconsin Dells. En route, they stopped at roadside diners, where stares followed Jamie and Hudson holding hands. Mark intervened once, glaring down a whispering patron until he looked away. "Thanks, Dad," Hudson said, surprised. Over campfires, stories flowed. Mark shared memories of Hudson's mother, how she encouraged creativity. Hudson opened up about bullying in school. Jamie contributed tales from his environmental fieldwork, lightening the mood. But paradise cracked when they returned home to vandalism. A slur spray-painted on their garage door. The neighborhood watch dismissed it as kids being kids. But Mark knew better. He reported it to the police, who took a statement but offered little hope. The incident galvanized him. He organized a community meeting, inviting LGBTQ advocates to speak. Turnout was mixed, some supportive, others hostile. "This ain't San Francisco," one resident grumbled. Mark pushed back. "It's America. Freedom for all." Hudson, empowered, confronted his own demons. He reached out to Uncle Tom, inviting him for coffee. The meeting was tense. Tom spouted outdated views, but Hudson listened, then shared his truth calmly. "I'm still me, Uncle. The nephew you taught to fish." Tom left unmoved, but seeds were planted. Later, Hudson confided in Mark. "It hurt, but I had to try." Mark nodded, proud but worried about the toll. As relationships evolved, Jamie proposed a commitment, moving in together post-graduation. Hudson hesitated, fearing it might overwhelm Mark. But when he broached it, Mark surprised him. "If he makes you happy, go for it. Just don't forget your old man." It was a milestone signaling acceptance. Yet, external pressures persisted. At a town hall on LGBTQ rights, Mark testified in support of anti-discrimination laws, drawing ire from conservative groups. Protesters picketed his job site, chanting slurs. His boss pulled him aside. "This is bad for business." Mark faced a choice: tone it down or risk unemployment. He chose integrity, but anxiety mounted. In parallel, Hudson's viral article led to an interview on a local podcast, where he discussed family dynamics. Listeners flooded in with stories, some heartwarming, others harrowing. It connected him to a broader community, but trolls doxed him, forcing him to tighten privacy settings. Autumn leaves blanketed the streets of Chicago, a colorful facade over brewing storms in the Thompson family. Mark's advocacy at work backfired. His boss demoted him, citing distractions. Financial strain hit hard: the mortgage, Hudson's tuition, pushing Mark to second-guess his outspokenness. "Maybe I pushed too far," he confided in a PFLG friend, who urged him on. Change hurts, but silence kills. Hudson, thriving in his final semester, landed an internship at a graphic design firm focused on social justice campaigns. His work on LGBTQ visibility posters channeled his experiences, earning praise. But success bred envy. A colleague outed him maliciously during a team meeting, leading to awkward silences. Jamie supported him through it, their cohabitation plans solidifying. They apartment hunted in progressive neighborhoods like Boys Town, dreaming of a fresh start. A major conflict arose when Mark's health faltered. Stress from work and activism triggered chest pains, landing him in the ER. Doctors diagnosed anxiety-induced hypertension, prescribing rest. Hudson rushed home, guilt gnawing. "This is my fault." Mark waved it off. "No, son. It's the world's fault for not catching up." The scare forced reflection. Mark realized his transformation wasn't just for Hudson, but for himself, shedding layers of toxic masculinity. During Mark's recovery, Jamie stepped up, running errands and cooking meals. His presence humanized him to Mark, who shared old photo albums, including ones of Hudson's mother. "She'd love you both," Mark said, a rare vulnerability. Jamie opened up about his estranged parents, fostering empathy. Hudson watched, amazed at the unlikely trio forming. But societal clashes intensified. A local school board debated including LGBTQ history in curriculum, drawing national attention. Mark, recovered, spoke at the hearing. "My son deserves to see himself in books." Opponents booed, one yelling, "Protect our kids from perversion." Hudson attended, holding Jamie's hand, but the vitriol shook him. Afterward, they faced harassment in the parking lot. Tires slashed, notes left, "Go back to hell." The incident sparked media coverage, with reporters interviewing the Thompsons. Hudson's story from the podcast resurfaced, amplifying their voices but inviting more threats. Online, hate groups targeted them. Mark installed security cameras, paranoia setting in. "Is this what freedom looks like?" Hudson asked Jamie, doubt creeping. Internally, Hudson wrestled with identity. Therapy revealed internalized homophobia from years of hiding, affecting his intimacy with Jamie. They navigated it patiently, focusing on emotional connection. "We're more than labels," Jamie said, their love a beacon. Mark sought reconciliation with Uncle Tom, inviting him to a neutral lunch. Tom arrived skeptical but listened as Mark shared Tyler's story from the youth center, the homelessness, despair. "I won't let that happen to Hudson." Tom softened slightly, admitting confusion. "Times are changing too fast. No full resolution, but a crack in the wall." At college, Hudson organized a coming-out workshop, drawing diverse attendees. One participant, a closeted athlete, thanked him privately. "You give me hope." It reaffirmed his purpose, but exhaustion mounted. Jamie noticed, suggesting a weekend getaway to recharge. The getaway to a cabin in Michigan proved pivotal. Amid nature, truths emerged. Mark joined unexpectedly, turning it into a family retreat. Around the fire, Mark confessed a secret. In his youth, he'd had a close friend who was gay, but fear drove them apart. "I regret not standing by him." Hudson shared his fears of never fully belonging. Jamie mediated, highlighting growth. "Look how far you've come." Returning home, They faced a lawsuit threat from a conservative group claiming Mark's advocacy violated community standards. Legal fees loomed, straining finances further. Friends rallied, starting a fundraiser, but pride made Mark hesitant. Hudson insisted, "Let people help. It's community." The controversy drew allies too. A local business owner, inspired by their story, offered Mark a new job in construction management, valuing his integrity. "We need more like you," he said. Mark accepted, relief washing over. Hudson's graduation approached, a milestone laced with emotion. He invited Uncle Tom, who surprisingly RSVP'd yes. At the ceremony, Mark beamed, Jamie by his side. Tom approached post-event. "I'm trying to understand. It wasn't perfect, but progress." Yet, highs met lows. Jamie's parents cut him off financially after learning of the cohabitation, forcing him to take extra shifts. "They think it's a phase," he lamented. Hudson supported him, their bond tested but unbreakable. As winter neared, Mark hosted a Thanksgiving dinner, inviting PFLAG members and strays from the youth center. The house filled with laughter, stories of resilience. Tyler attended, thriving under Mark's mentorship. Hudson realized the ripple effect. His coming out had transformed not just their lives but others. But doubt persisted. In a quiet moment, Hudson asked Mark, "Was it worth it?" Mark replied, "Every scar, every fight." "Yes, because now we're real." The file ends on this note of tentative harmony, with greater challenges on the horizon, as the family's evolution continues to unfold in unexpected ways. Winter's chill gripped Chicago, but warmth flickered in the Thompson home amid ongoing trials. Mark's new job brought stability, allowing him to fund Hudson's post-grad plans. Hudson, now graduated, pursued freelance design work, specializing in LGBTQ-themed art. His portfolio grew, landing gigs for Pride events, but competition was fierce and rejection stung. Jamie's situation worsened. His parents' rejection led to depression, straining their relationship. "I feel like a burden," he admitted during a tearful night. Hudson reassured him, "We're in this together." They sought couples counseling, learning to communicate vulnerabilities, strengthening their foundation. Mark expanded his activism, co-founding a support group for blue-collar parents of LGBTQ kids. Meetings at a local union hall drew diverse crowds, truckers, mechanics, sharing stories over coffee. One father, inspired by Mark, reconciled with his trans daughter. Success fueled Mark, but burnout loomed. He balanced it with self-care, like fishing trips with Hudson. A major dispute erupted when a national news outlet featured their story in a documentary on coming out in conservative families. The exposure was double-edged. Supportive messages poured in, but so did death threats. The family went into semi-hiding, changing routines. "This is insane," Hudson vented. Mark remained steadfast. "We can't let fear win." Uncle Tom's slow thaw continued. He visited unannounced, bearing gifts, a fishing rod for Hudson, symbolizing old times. Conversation turned serious. "I've been reading up. Still don't agree with everything, but your family." It was a breakthrough, though tentative. Hudson appreciated the effort, but wariness remained. Professionally, Hudson faced discrimination. A potential client withdrew after discovering his orientation doesn't align with our values. Frustrated, he channeled it into advocacy, speaking at conferences. Jamie accompanied him to one in New York, where they networked, envisioning a future there. Back home, community backlash peaked during a city council vote on Pride funding. Mark testified again, facing hecklers. One opponent, a former friend, accused him of brainwashing Hudson. The vote passed narrowly, a victory, but the personal cost was high, old friendships severed. Emotionally, Hudson hit a wall. Years of fighting culminated in a breakdown. He questioned if happiness was possible in such a divided world. Jamie held him. "We'll build our own world." Mark noticed, organizing a surprise. A trip to see Hudson's mother's grave, where they reflected on legacy. "She taught me love without conditions," Mark said. "It healed wounds, renewing resolve. Jamie's reconciliation attempt with his parents failed spectacularly. They disinvited him from a family wedding. Heartbroken, he leaned on the Thompsons, who welcomed him fully. Mark even joked, "You're stuck with us now," solidified their chosen family. As spring approached, Hudson proposed to Jamie during a quiet lakeside picnic. A simple ring, promises of forever. Jamie accepted, tears of joy. They shared the news with Mark, who hugged them tightly. "Welcome to the family, son." Planning began, but debates arose. A big wedding or small? Traditional or modern? It highlighted generational gaps, but compromise prevailed. However, external forces threatened. A hate group doxed them again, leading to harassment at work and home. Police involvement increased, but solutions were scarce. Mark considered moving, but roots ran deep. "This is our home. We fight for it." Hudson's art gained traction. A gallery show featured his pieces on identity and acceptance. Opening night drew crowds, including Uncle Tom, who praised the work awkwardly. Media coverage boosted his career, but trolls review-bombed the exhibit online. In a twist, Mark's support group caught national attention, leading to a TEDx invitation. He spoke eloquently about transformation. "Love isn't about agreement. It's about showing up." The talk went viral, inspiring thousands, but attracting critics who labeled him a traitor to his class. Jamie's environmental firm offered a promotion, requiring relocation to California. The opportunity excited him, but meant leaving Mark. Hudson agonized. Follow love or stay for family. Discussions were heated. Mark encouraged, "Go, I'll visit. Life's about growth." The decision crystallized during a family crisis, Tyler's suicide attempt at the youth center. Mark rushed to the hospital, Hudson and Jamie following. Tyler survived, crediting Mark's mentorship. It underscored impact. "You saved me," Tyler whispered. Hudson realized his coming out had saved lives indirectly. They chose California with Mark's blessing. Packing evoked nostalgia. Mark gifted heirlooms, sharing stories. Uncle Tom helped load the truck, a silent olive branch. The California sun bathed San Francisco in golden light, a stark contrast to Chicago's grit, as Hudson and Jamie settled into their new life. Their cozy apartment in the Castro district buzzed with possibility. Hudson freelancing for tech companies on diversity campaigns. Jamie advancing in sustainable energy. Calls with Mark bridged the distance, his voice steady over video. "Proud of you boys." But adjustment wasn't seamless. Hudson missed the familiar, culture shock hitting during Pride Month festivities. Vibrant, unapologetic, yet overwhelming. "It's like we traded one fight for another," he told Jamie, referencing gentrification debates in the community. Jamie nodded, their relationship evolving through honest talks. Mark visited quarterly, exploring the city with wide eyes. During one trip, they hiked in Muir Woods, where Mark opened up about loneliness. "House feels empty without you." Hudson suggested dating, but Mark laughed it off. "Too old for that." Yet, seeds planted. Back home, he joined a widowers group, finding companionship. Advocacy continued remotely. Hudson collaborated on virtual panels, his story inspiring a book deal, a memoir on family reconciliation. Writing unearthed memories, therapeutic yet painful. Jamie edited drafts, their partnership deepening. A surprise. Uncle Tom reached out, apologizing via letter. "I've been wrong. Let's talk." A video call followed, awkward but genuine. Tom shared attending a Pride event, eye-opening. Reconciliation mended family ties, with Tom visiting California, bonding over barbecues. Challenges persisted. Jamie's work involved travel, straining time together. Hudson felt isolated, pouring energy into art. A gallery solo show explored themes of displacement and belonging, critically acclaimed but sparking controversy. Critics called it exploitative. Defending it online, Hudson faced backlash, reminding him progress was uneven. Mark's health scare recurred, a minor heart episode. Hudson flew back immediately, Jamie following. At the hospital, emotions surged. "Don't leave me, Dad." Mark recovered, vowing lifestyle changes, diet, exercise. The incident reinforced bonds, prompting Mark to relocate part-time to California, buying a condo nearby. Wedding planning ramped up, a destination event in Napa Valley. Invites went to PFLAG friends, youth center kids like Tyler, now thriving in college. Vows exchanged under vineyards, Mark officiating. In sickness and health, through change and challenge. Tears flowed, a culmination of growth. Post-wedding, they honeymooned in Hawaii, reflecting on the path. Your dad's reaction changed everything, Jamie said. Hudson agreed. It saved us. Back in reality, societal issues loomed. National anti-LGBTQ legislation threatened rights, prompting activism. Hudson designed protest graphics. Jamie lobbied policymakers. Mark fundraised from Chicago. United, they amplified voices. Years passed. Hudson and Jamie considered adoption, navigating bureaucracy. Mark, retired, mentored remotely, his support group expanding nationally. Uncle Tom's full acceptance symbolized broader change. In quiet moments, Hudson pondered the journey. From that rainy night to now. Lives transformed. But at what cost? Scars remained, but so did hope. The story ends not with closure, but a question. Is a father's unconditional acceptance always enough to heal the wounds inflicted by a divided society?